And he would put the wing of our airplane, he could literally put it into the waist window of the other guy's airplane. Fortunately, he never did. But we flew a very tight formations when he was flying it. And the original engineer we had, a little Jewish fellow from Brooklyn, he says, "Guys, you're going to kill yourself." He quit. He retired. He wanted to get off the Air Force. So I don't know what he ever did. And I think that's not the only one that really left the crew, but of course the bombardier we originally had in the States didn't pass his physical, so he didn't go with us. That's when we got a new bombardier, Russell R. Rolfe. I can remember R. But he did pretty good. Some of the times you go over a target and it was peace and quiet. Hardly any flak, no fighters around. Other times it got very interesting. And the one I always liked was the one we were going to Emden. Well, that was close. Kiel. That was to disrupt shipbuilding up there. And we were only flying on 3 engines. We found out after we got home that the crankshaft sheared on the number 2 engines, so we were flying 3 engines. And when the enemy fighter would spot, I got a cripple, I'll go get that guy. There was only one pilot, one flyer. So we were coming back and go over Helgoland, and of course he didn't come in because we thought that's where they had their anti-aircraft gunner training. And they got very close with their anti-aircraft there. Didn't hit us, thank goodness. So we were all by ourselves, and he kept telling the tail gunner and myself and the other waist gunner, "Let me know where that fighter's at." "Okay, Pat." "It looks like he's going to go up and try to dive on us." He says, "Straight on." As soon as he started, "Okay then, Pappy, we'll move the airplane one way or move the other way over here." And he finally did that when we kept on going lower and lower. And he went over like that, and the fighter went right into the water. He couldn't get pulled up. So he did. Thank God for no favors.
Yeah.
So I got back from that one.
Wow, that's awesome. It's a good story.
And I think that's about the most of it. Oh, when we go to Pas-de-Calais, that's where the rocket launchers were. And what they did was to go up these, forget the name of the darn things, but they would go so far and then they'd run out of fuel, and then they'd go down and explode. And they were hitting London and the surrounding areas with these. And then one day we were flying, and the tail gunner said, "Hey, got an airplane down there, doesn't have any props on it." Uh-oh. Fighter with a jet. And he didn't bother us in particular. He was trying to get back to land, and our fighters wised up to what it was. They couldn't catch up because they were prop aircraft. So they would wait until they see them coasting down and trying to get a landing. They didn't want to evade. They wanted to get that darn airplane on the ground. Fighters could help them. They shoot them up and get down. And they were knocking quite a few of the, I think the ME-210, ME-262, I think was what they put onto it. And we also had another thing. The British had a air-sea rescue. And the U.S. tried to get in, said they were too proficient. They had everything set up. They would drop boats, they brought inflatable rafts, and they saved a lot of flyers. They get on, and then the fighter would go out and keep circling over top so the enemy couldn't get in and shoot the darn thing up. As on the aircraft, there was 2 areas above the bomb bay that you had a raft built in. If you pull this lever in the front, the thing would pop out. You did that after you landed in the water, because the airplane would float a little bit. And then the 2 rafts would come down, the crews could get on board the raft and Air Sea Rescue would pass the word on wherever they're located, they'd come out and save the crew. I think I've touched just about everything. Any questions?
So, you said you had to volunteer for the Air Corps?
If you're flying,
Okay,
you didn't have to if you're going to be a ground mechanic.
okay. So why was that you had to volunteer? Do you know?
Well, they wanted to make sure they didn't push people into flying that didn't want to go.
Mm.
And you needed a little cooperation with the guys that were up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was it like, was having airplanes in the military sort of a new thing back then, or had that?
They had airplanes,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't have, well, they had the B-17, but they never used it in combat until the Second World War.
Mm-hmm.
So then you had to put a crew into the airplane, because they called it Flying Fortress.
Mm-hmm.
And we had 12 guns all told on that airplane. Twins up in the nose, top turret was double, ball turret was a double, tail gun was a double, 2 singles at the left waist and right waist, and the radio man had a single, called him a morale gun. And what we had to do, they would take a reinforcement rod and bend it so that you couldn't shoot your own tail or your own wing off. It was a good thing they did.
Yeah.
Because most of the time, if you see a fighter coming, you'll fall on them, and you don't. If they hit that thing, well, you release your triggers.
Uh-huh.
Now the ball turret, he was in a position. I would relieve the ball turret, believe it or not. He had a little seat set on there. He had a 50 caliber on either side, and most of the time you're in a position like this. The controls were up here.
Wow.
And the ammunition was here, and if you got low, then you had to tip the guns up, to open them up and give them more ammunition. And sometimes we would take extra ammunition, and some of the comments about the pilot in here said, God, I couldn't get the tail up. We had extra ammunition, a couple of boxes in the back of the airplane. We thought we knew what we were doing.
Was it really cramped inside the airplane, like not much space, or was it?
Tail gunner used to complain. He'd sit on a little bicycle seat and be kneeling. And I get back to relieve him, I said, that's silly. So I put my legs out in front over the ammunition tracks, flexible tracks. And I put my head up there in that little cubicle that you had to look out of, and your sight was out in the front. Not too bad, but I was never under attack when I was alternating the other positions.